Hey, good morning. Welcome back to our channel. I'm Jared from 3C's Recreation, and it's one of the first times ever that I've actually had all four of the RR two-stroke lineup in our building. We have the 125, the 200, the 250, and the 300. It's kind of unique because I don't typically stock as many 250s, and I never really stock the 125, but Beta has some good deals on these bikes, so we brought them in. And actually, this bike is going to get used for our 24-hour challenge. So check out our channel. We're going to be doing the 24-hour challenge this year, 5 riders on one bike for the whole time. So follow along. It's going to be a lot of fun. We're going to build this bike up. So I thought what would be really cool for you guys this morning is just to do a really quick comparison because like me, most dealers don't stock all 4 of these at once. So it's hard for you guys to get a side-by-side comparison. So I thought this morning we would just run down through these bikes to try to give you guys first-hand experience or knowledge on the comparisons as they sit here. So we'll start with the 125. This is the smallest bike in the lineup. And as you know, this is kind of geared toward your entry rider, your younger child, like a 14, 15-year-old kid. Or if you've got like a AA rider that just wants to challenge himself and run a 125. So this bike weighs the least, it's 207 pounds. All of these bikes have the same gas tank. So they're all a 2.5 gallon clear gas tank. They all have the 6-speed transmission. All the plastics and everything interchange between the models. All the brakes are the same, wheels are the same, but where the 125 is a little bit different is that this is a kickstart only model. And if you watch our video the other day, we were like excited we picked this bike out and then halfway through we remembered this is a kickstart only bike. So there is no electric start with this. You got the kickstart only and the 125 is pre-mix only. So if we pop the seat, it's kind of interesting on this bike. There is nothing under the seat. So normally with these RR models, you've got the oil tank here and you've got your battery. So really cool. That's what gets this weight down to 207 on the 125 RR. So pretty unique model in the Beta lineup. It kind of replicates like a race edition in the fact that there's no oil injection. So stock RR, that's a 125 and they are $85.99, brand new. So it's the cheapest model in the Beta lineup. And the power delivery on a 125 is minimal. You have to clutch it. If you're a heavier rider, you're on a hill climb, you got to be in the right gear. And that's why this is geared toward your younger riders, the lighter riders, or like the AA guys that are just in shape and they're climbing the hill like they need to. So the next bike in the lineup is the 200 RR, and this is by far our biggest seller so far this year. We just had 6 of these come in last week. I've got 2 left. We did some really cool builds. So again, check out our channel. We've really featured the 200 over the last year on our channel because we kind of fell in love with this bike. It's hard to explain. There's a ton of torque. The bottom end feels a lot like a 300. It does not feel like the 125 in any way. It has its own unique feel to it. And this bike does gain electric start and it does gain oil injection. So you're starting to get back to all those premium features that you expect out of the Betas. And these are $92.99 for the 200. So we have a lot of content on the 200 channel, so I don't want to go too much in depth on that bike specifically because there is so much already that we've talked about. So like I said, oil injection, electric start, you're kind of gaining back into, and that's why the price difference is there. So a ton of torque. I think you'll really fall in love with this bike if you get a chance to ride one. Next bike in the lineup is the 250 two-stroke, and this is probably the least selling bike in the showroom other than like a 480 race edition. So I don't do a ton of 250s. I think a lot of my customers jump right from a 200 to a 300, but Beta had a really good deal on this bike, and so we're going to pass the savings on to the customer. I think my biggest buyer for this bike is the guy that does race. So if you're a AA guy, they like the 250 two-stroke. This does have oil injection and it is electric start. So it has all those features. But if we started to compare, and let's start comparing the 250 and 300 because we're getting closer to 300 here. So the 300 just has a lot more bottom end torque. There's a lot more power to this bike for hill climbing. So you can be in the wrong gear on a 300 and it's going to tractor right up the hill. That's the benefit of the 300s. That's why we do so many of them. You can lug it around, but you can also kind of rev it and go. Where the 250 needs a little more clutch work if you're on a hill. That's just kind of the feeling of the 250. The 250 is electric start and oil injection. I'm not sure if I mentioned that. So oil injection and electric start. Last bike is the king in the showroom. So this is the 300 two-stroke. We do the most of this model by far. I think the 200 is catching up, but the 300, oil injection, electric start, all of these have the SOX suspension. So all these models, very similar, maybe different spring rates because of the bike, but very similar components on the inside. And this bike just has a ton of power. You can tractor along with it. It's not scary, like it's not gonna hurt you. It's not like a motocross 300, right? It's not like the RX model. So if you are getting tired as the day goes along, the 300 works really, really well. So my bike of choice is probably the 300. If I was gonna choose one bike to have to follow my kids around, to do trail riding, to go do a hare scramble, I'm gonna do a 300 because it's gonna do everything really, really well. And I'm a bigger, taller guy. I want a little more power. So I hope this helps. This was just a really quick walkthrough in the showroom comparing the 4 two-stroke RR models. Again, Beta does make race editions, right? So we've got some race editions behind me. I've got 200s and 300s in the showroom here, but I wanted to concentrate on just the RR lineup. And maybe, real quick, let's talk about the differences. So the race edition has KYB. So for 2023, Braxton, walk up this way. We got a 300 right here. So this is a 300 two-stroke. This one just sold yesterday. So the race editions come with a KYB shock and the forks. These are a pre-mix only bike. There is no oil injection on the race edition models. So you have to pre-mix every time you go ride. They do come with the hand guards. They come with different foot pegs and the whole different graphic package. So right at the end here, I think we'll just throw that in so you guys can kind of know. And it's got like the front axle pull. And typically the race editions are gonna be like $500 to $600 more than the RR model. And unless you're a really aggressive rider that's aiming for racing, I would probably stick with the RR model. So again, this was Jared at 3C's Recreation. Thanks for following along. Enjoy the ride.